Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jonathan and I look at tech companies for investors. And today I'm going to be having a look at JFrog Ltd. I'm going to have a look at what JFrog offers. I'm also going to have a look at their revenue, and then I'll kind of give my final opinion on whether it's a good company or not. Now, please bear in mind that this is not investing advice. Do not base any buying or selling decisions on the content of this video. Now, if you do enjoy the video and you find the information helpful, I would really appreciate if you hit that like button. Now, first, let's actually have a look at what JFrog is and what service it offers and kind of what makes it a little bit different. Now, JFrog offers software that helps with the development of software. This is known as DevOps. Now, what makes JFrog different is the fact that it offers something known as a binary repository. And for me to explain that without getting too technical, I'd please just ask that you bear with me. So when you are developing a piece of software or an application, most of the times you won't build it from complete scratch. It's like, rather than go out there and build a map of the world, you just use Google Maps or Apple's Maps. And what you do is you pull in a library or a repository to use that in your application. So you don't build it from scratch. You pull in software that other people have built from all over the world to do different things, and your application pretty much combines it together to get it to do what you want it to do. That is pretty much all programming really is. You will very rarely build something from absolute scratch. Now, when you're building these applications and you're taking code from their servers pretty much all over the world, then there can be a lot of kind of wires crossed. Firstly, if you're the only developer working on the application, you don't really have as much of a problem because you know all the packages and where to get everything and which version to get. But if you have a large development team, the packages you use are quite important. Especially in the sense, let's say someone on your development team uses version 3 and you're using version 27. Now, when you're building the code and integrating the application, if you don't figure this out early, when you try and deploy the application, some components might not work because it's used to working on version 3, and some might work only on version 27 because it's used to running on version 27, if that makes sense. Now, if you have a binary repository manager, which is what JFrog offers, then you essentially move that to one server. So rather than you actually having to go out to all these servers, this JFrog Artifactory or application goes out, gets the binaries for you, then you just pull them from one server to your application. Now, that has quite a lot of benefits. One, because you can actually outsource any security issues when you're pulling in these applications, or these libraries, sorry. And secondly, if there is a lot of people who are working on the same product, then they can just pull from the same server as well. And they pull the same version as you. So there's no wires crossed. No one's pulling version 27 and no one's pulling version 3, and you're not pulling from all over the world, which saves quite a lot of time. That is pretty much as non-technical as I can make it. Just know that when you are building an application, you don't build it from scratch, and you pull in different libraries, and these libraries have different versions. And if you want your application to work, you need to make sure anyone who's developing has to have the same version of a library, or you'll have conflicts. And secondly, rather than everybody having to go out all over the world, not necessarily all over the world, but in terms of your computer having to fetch these libraries from multiple servers all over the world, yeah, that can take quite a while. So if they can just pull it from one server, it saves quite a lot of time. And when you're trying to deploy an application and continually develop an application rather than rebuilding it from scratch, then saving time is quite important. Now, I really do hope I haven't lost you, because now I want to go and have a look at their revenue. But firstly, let's actually go have a look and see how JFrog is performing. So this is JFrog right now. So this was at close on February 26 at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It finished at around $53.50. Its 52-week range went from about $51, so it's actually sitting quite low in terms of its 52-week range, and it's had a high of $95. Now it's got a market cap of about 5 billion almost. And yeah, that is actually not too bad, I don't think. Here I'm actually going to have a look and break down some kind of key points of their 10K form that they released in the 21st of February 2021. So as you can also see, they offer different things, but it's mostly about deployment. And I would really say that Artifactory is their main standout thing. And that was what I was kind of explaining earlier. Here are actually all the things that they offer. They have JFrog pipelines, JFrog X-Ray, JFrog Distribution, JFrog Artifactory Edge, JFrog Mission Control, and JFrog Insights. All of these tools that they offer make developing and integrating and deploying applications a lot easier. Here we can actually see their customers. As of December 31st, 2020, we had a global customer base of approximately 6,050 organizations across all industries and sizes, including approximately 78% of Fortune 100 organizations. As of December 31st, 2019, 234 of our customers had an annual recurring revenue of 100,000 or more. So annual recurring revenue is kind of like subscription-based things. So that's actually quite substantial, increasing to 352 customers as of December 31st, 2020, accounting for 45 to 51% of our annual recurring revenue, respectively. We had 7 customers of annual recurring revenue of at least 1 million as of December 31st, 2019, increasing to 10 customers of at least 1 million as of December 31st, 2020. So recurring revenue is actually really important, especially for software companies, because it's revenue that they don't really have to work for anymore. So long as they still continue to offer the service and that service is valuable, then that's pretty much just easy money. Here I want you to actually also have a look at their main competition. So their main competition is pretty much self-managed developers or people who deploy on their own and they do pretty much the gritty work. Diversified software companies such as IBM, so they have a service Red Hat, Pivotal Software Inc., I'll have a look at that, and VMware. So VMware offers virtual machines software. And developer-focused software companies such as GitLab Inc. and Sonatype Inc. Most of the other parts of this leading up to the revenue is just kind of talking about things that could or are currently affecting their business. It's a lot of legal stuff, really. And now the most important part of this document, which is the revenue. So the year ending, well, this is actually quite nice because you can see a side-by-side comparison of 2020, 2019, and 2018. So looking at the revenue when you compare 2018 to 2020, they went from 63 million to 150 million. So that's quite a substantial increase. They more than doubled their revenue in 2 years. Now, the other kind of really promising thing I look at is the total cost of revenue, well, in terms of their subscription. They went from about 10 million to about 30 million. Now, actually looking at their operating expenses, this is why they're still running a loss. But they are not a very large company, so they are investing quite heavily in research and development and sales and marketing. But the two kind of main points I always like to look at are the general and administrative costs, because those are the ones that aren't as flexible. And when you combine their general and administrative costs with their cost of revenue, it doesn't actually really come close to their total revenue. So if they actually had to cut back in research and development and sales and marketing, which they wouldn't do, I know they wouldn't do, they would still be running at quite a good margin for profit. So if you actually take away from their revenue, so 150.827 million, if you subtract their cost of revenue, which is 28.451 million, and also subtracting their general and administrative, which is 34.519 million, you end up with a gross kind of profit of 87.857 million, which is quite a good chunk of cheddar considering the revenue of the company. And if they can actually increase their market share, yeah, they could be highly profitable. Now, please bear in mind that this is quite speculative. I'm not saying that they're not going to invest in research and development and sales and marketing. I just kind of like to have a look at how they could run if they had to really, really cut back. And in this case, they look quite good. So I actually quite like the look of JFrog as an investor, but also as a software developer, because I've had issues in the past with one person using a package that I was using another version of the same package. It happens. It does happen. And if you can kind of mitigate that risk, yeah, it could be a really good option. But also I really like JFrog for the fact that it has really promising revenue. Over the past 2 years, it's increased its revenue almost threefold. It doesn't have a huge market cap, so it's not overvalued in my opinion, but it's showing quite promising revenue and promising growth in the future. DevOps is a part of software development that is pretty much, well, it is essential, because if you don't deploy the application, then you might as well not have made it. But DevOps is something that companies could do a lot more streamlining with, and this could be quite a good option. If you like JFrog as a stock, then like this video to let me know. Also, if you have any companies that you would like me to have a look at, then please comment them down below. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.